This thing is the sample library equivalent of shooting into outer space, jumping into a supernova, twisting through a black hole, and getting back to Earth. And it sounds way above its price tag. Element's Kepler, hybrid scoring toolkit made by Stefano Maccarelli. If you don't know about Stefano's libraries, think about tons of content, great quality, low price. Kepler is massive and inspired by those modern Hans Zimmer soundtracks, especially Dune or TENET and Oppenheimer by Ludwig Göransson. It's a bit like Gravity 2, just for a quarter of the money. And it's so huge that it can look a bit confusing at first. Let me explain. The two main patches are the Chord Designer and the Texture Designer. The other ones are smaller editions for very specific purposes. First and foremost, we'll use the included installer for the presets, so we don't have to copy-paste files across weird folder paths. Very nice. The Chord Designer has over 400 sound sources that you can combine in 3-layer slots here, but it's officially recommended to actually start with one of the many different presets that you can find in the contact menu up here. You can mix and pan the 3 layers with the knobs here, or just use the XY tab to sort of blend and pan between the layers. And you can MIDI learn this to your MIDI controller and then use your knobs to control it, or just drag and drop it with the mouse. Coolio. There's an octaver button that quickly makes the sound fat. Here you get advanced options for each layer, many of which I don't honestly care about too much, but this one is super helpful, the learn range. So you click this, press one button on your keyboard, press the second button on your keyboard, and between those two buttons, it maps this layer. So you can do the same with layer 2 and learn it from here to here, and then also the third one from here to here. And now we have all 3 layers separated and playable on our keyboard without overlapping. And then if we want them to overlap, for example, we want the second and the third to play at the same notes, we can also do that. And then it changes the color. Kids, learn your color theory. The other sliders are mainly for shaping the sound. Speaking of shaping, the shape knob here is really cool for adding oomph. It's a spectral shaper, I think. For you sound design aficionados out there, the modulations tabs kindly offers us more control over dynamic filtering, LFOs, and stuff to really fine-tune the behavior of the sound over time. In the Arpeggiator tab, we can click ourselves some rhythms here, and let me tell you, this goes amazing with the hybrid percussion patches and the bass. That's nice. I wish there was a database with hundreds or thousands of these presets, of these sequenced rhythms that I could load. Unfortunately, there are just a few presets, so we'll have to do these rhythms on our own. Also, if I create a rhythm and I want to save it as a preset for contact and want to apply it to a different instrument, that's not possible because it's like limited to this specific patch, so I can't apply the same rhythm to a different patch, like via drag and drop or import and export. It's not possible, so I'll have to redo the rhythm. I get it, it's not the main feature of the library. Okie dokie. Speaking of main feature, with the Chord Designer alone, you can build entire soundtracks. The vocal pads are gorgeous. And check out these electric guitar patterns. The hybrid leads sound like coming straight out of Dune. these cyber arpeggios pack quite a punch. There are even trailer brams, alarms, signals, clocks, stuff that really increases the usefulness and value of Kepler for production music, scores, and trailer music. Now, the other big pillar of this sample library, the texture designer. The texture designer, again, gives us 100 or so presets to go with. These are lively beds of sound that you can put gently in the back of your mix to sort of fill the track with world building. Or right in front as the attention-grabbing sort of centerpiece. The quality of each of these textures is so good that you can just expose them in the foreground. These textures morph over time and don't become boring after like 2 seconds or so. I swear, whenever there's vocals involved, I get shivers down my spine. It's like they're whispering from left and right into my ear, and it just screams cinema to me. The cool thing with the texture designer is that all sound sources that have a TM at the end of the name, which I think stands for Context Time Machine feature, I'm not exactly sure, they have a sort of scripted legato. So if you play a note and then a little bit later play the next one, they swell at the same time. So the second note doesn't start the sample from the beginning, but intelligently picks up at the right point of the sample, so the swell of these two notes are sort of happening at the same time. If it were dumb, it would always trigger the sample from the start, and that would suck. The texture designer provides some of the most evocative soundscapes I've heard. Some make you really feel like you're in the middle of a sandstorm on a desert planet. Others make you feel like lonely and floating sad in deep space. Some are aggressive, others are haunting. There are choral sounds, gritty synth, hollow textures. There's something for everybody. But what all of these sound sources and presets have in common is high quality and constant movement. Also like how it's just called nice combo. So gorgeous. For the additional smaller patches in the library, we have some trailer hits. I wouldn't say these replace a dedicated trailer library, but they're nice to have. Hybrid, low, high-end folk percussion. This I really like. You can use the sequencer if you want to use one of these rhythms, or just turn it off and play it with the round robin samples. The bass, like I said, super cool with the Arpeggiator. Super groovy, super gritty, with like a high dynamic layer for this like slide, and then low dynamic layers for the muted notes. I like it a lot. We have Stomps, which can be nice to underline a marching theme when the Harkonnen army is coming to get us. And then there are these utility sounds for booms, metal hits, whooshes, whoosh, short transitions. And then there is a vocal true legato patch for men and women called Kepler and Kepleria. And let's see, do these sound familiar? This is throat singing that's obviously inspired by Dune. Very nice to have these for this dark throat singing stuff. We've also seen them in wavelet audios as Secunda, Emperor Chance, and I think there they sound a little bit more fluent in the transitions between the syllables. But in Kepler, they are just a tiny part of a huge library, and it's great that they're here. We also have breath sequences. Screams. Reverse patches for the core designer. Very nice for film scoring. Kepler is a universe of sound. It screams Dune, but it's more. It's not a one-trick pony that tries to copy the sound of the latest Hans Zimmer soundtrack. It's basically Stefano Maccarelli's vision as a sound designer and composer himself of what he would like to have when he creates scores for modern, otherworldly, fat, synth-based, evocative universes of music that still have this organic grit to it. Stefano explains that when he makes sample libraries, he thinks of stuff he wants to use himself and sort of hopes that it's also useful for others. Let me tell you, this thing is useful for others. The core designer offers thousands of combinations to make use of the sound sources. High elements, low elements, synths, short, long voices, guitars, all recorded and processed into something that sounds fresh, fat, and nice. Keep in mind, many of the sound sources are rhythmic in nature, and those where the rhythm is baked into the sound source, you can't change the rhythm easily via MIDI or via the sequencer. Others that have round robins and are one-shots, of course you can create your own rhythms with them, but it's something to keep in mind that you can't change the rhythm when it's baked into the sample itself. I also wish the sequencer rhythms had more presets available that I could just copy paste onto other patches, like something you can see in Key Forest libraries. This would allow for consistency in rhythms across several patches without having to recreate them from scratch. This is a minor point of criticism, and it's really dwarfed by the sheer quality of these textures, which I really love. The percussion is a nice addition. It sounds organic, but also hybrid at the same time in a way. I love that we have these otherworldly vocal patches. These vocals, they are so good. It goes very well together with the other Elements instruments because the UI is the same, the philosophy is the same, the sound universe is similar, and they really accompany each other well. But you can also use it as a standalone world builder that sounds way more expensive than its price tag. This is 30 gigabytes of evocative goodness for hybrid soundtracks, and for a bit over $100, I get the feeling as if I was one step closer to some of my favorite movie soundtracks, and this is worth a lot to me. You can get Elements Kepler with a link in the description below. You will not find a better sounding hybrid scoring toolkit for this price. You can get another 20% off the intro price if you own another Ethera library or an Elements title that's any of the Ethera Gold series or Elements Modern Scoring Synth, Cinematic Rhythms, any of these. Go to the video description, hit the link to Zero G Store, enter the Elements loyalty discount code at the checkout and save another 20%. If you have any questions about the library, drop them in the comments and I will help you out. I wrote a little demo with Elements Kepler. I used only Kepler. I could have written something entirely different. I mean, it's only a small snapshot of what Kepler can do. Check out the official demos to see what else you can do with it. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Join the Become Pro Composer Discord community to find a constructive and awesome positive place for growing composers, and I will see you soon. Baboon.